course, we are called as believers, not just prophets, but as believers. We are supposed to be emanating, according to 2 Corinthians chapter 2, we're supposed to be emanating the fragrance of God. So we definitely have to make sure, it is imperative that we as prophets, prophetic people, it is our responsibility to make sure that our vessel, our apothecary, is fly free. Yes. So that we will not find ourselves in a predicament where we are uttering or making those declarations from a contaminated place.
In Antioch,
yes,
the text says, and they taught the assembly, watch this, a whole year. They taught the assembly
a whole
year. Okay. That was the teaching ministry. 2 chapters later, in chapter 13, there was, it says, and now there were in Antioch apostles and teachers and prophets, etc. And they names. And then, of course, they consecrated Barnabas and Saul, by the way. But that waiting period was not a wasted period. That was the training and those gifts that we see 2 chapters later, whatever time period, came from those who were teachable, who were the acronym FAT, faithful, available, and teachable.
Can it affect other areas in our life?
Absolutely. It affects, not only does it affect how you show up. So whenever you get stuck in your stuff, you can't move forward. And being stuck in a situation that frustrates you is not going to serve you. So the key to, after you identify the stuff, is deciding whether or not you're going to stay stuck in the stuff. So I could have gotten so bent out of shape about my hair not doing what I thought it should have, could have, would have done, that I said, you know what, Kelly, I can't do the show today because my hair is tripping. Right? And that would have had a ripple effect on you, me, our reputation. We would have robbed the people who are hearing us and supporting this today and needing to hear a word of encouragement and liberation and help, for dealing with their stuff. They wouldn't have gotten it. Why? Because I didn't like the way my hair was. I mean,
come on.
Yeah, you've got to put stuff in the right perspective. Some stuff is not worth sweating over. I love the book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, because what you realize is that it's all small stuff.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another conversation with Kelly. I am your host, Kelly Spencer, and thank you so much for deciding to spend this afternoon just eavesdropping in on this conversation today. When I tell you this topic is, oh my God, one that is right now, meaning right now we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it because a lot of people are dealing with this topic, don't know they're dealing with it, or they know someone who is dealing with it. So this topic is going to be fire. I cannot wait for you to meet the guests that I have on today. But do me a favor before we even get into the conversation. Like, share, tag anyone that you think of that is dealing with the topic of narcissism or dealing with a narcissist. Tag them. You don't know how much information that they will be able to receive so that they can heal on today. So again, like, share, tag, and most importantly, put some comments out there. I would love to hear where you are watching from. And our guests would love to be able to answer some of your questions. So again, please comment. And again, welcome to another conversation with Kelly. And as I stated, the topic that we are dealing with today is how to recognize a narcissist. I know that's a big word that everybody probably has heard of, but there are some specific reasons why this is a must talk about topic, or I should say a topic that must be talked about, because again, a lot of people are dealing with it. or know someone who is dealing with it. So there could be a boss or a child that is a narcissist or has narcissistic tendencies, your spouse. And did you know that not only males can be narcissists, females as well? And so, again, my guest is going to expand on that a little further. And I want to, before I bring her in, there is a famous quote that Maya Angelou said many years ago that I think is applicable to help us jump off this conversation. She said, "When people show you who they are, believe them." I'll say that again. When people show you who they are, believe them. And trust me, the signs are there. We just have to open up our eyes and be bold and brave enough to say, yep, that's the sign. And I am moving right along because, again, a narcissistic trait can be very damaging emotionally and in some cases physically. But I'm not going to get into that because I'm not the expert. My guest is. And so without further delay, I'm going to bring in Miss Nzinga Cates. Welcome to Conversations with Kelly.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm so excited.
I am excited for you to be here. And, I have to tell everybody, in dealing with this particular topic in my own personal life, I kept saying, what is this narcissism? What is this? And you hear terms like gaslighting and you hear terms like love bombing. And I mean, it's everywhere. So a lot of people are talking about it. And then when I thought about it, I said, you know what? That happened to me. Wait a minute. I just didn't know how to put the term
to everybody.
Everybody. And so, as God would have it, one day I just saw your post and I said, wait a minute, Zinga's a counselor.
Yeah.
And little did I know until our conversation that this is what you do on a day-to-day basis. So again,
I have a personal history with narcissism. I didn't quite realize I was dealing with it until, my God, it may be almost 20 years now, maybe. I didn't realize that I was dealing with it with my parents. So
absolutely,
that's how I got introduced. I mean, you learn a little bit about it in school, but that's when I started to understand narcissism on a different level, on a much deeper level. Just started doing a lot of research and studying and taking classes. And wow, it's so broad.
Absolutely. And we were going to save that for when we start talking about your testimony in just a second. But it is definitely something, again, that everybody, you're right, is dealing with it. They just may not recognize exactly what it is that they're dealing with. Absolutely. So again, welcome, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you.
And full disclosure, I always do that in situations like this. Zen is married to my god nephew.
Yes. Oh, that's my nephew. Thank you, Bilal.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. I saw that comment. I said, okay, he has to be a nephew on the Williams side. Yes, ma'am. All right.
Yep.
Hey. Well, welcome, Bilal. We're glad to have you today. Continue to ask questions and post some comments out there. We would love to answer them for you. But my guest, even though I know her, I don't get a chance to see them as often because they live on the other side of the country.
Charlotte.
Yes, she is a counseling professional with over 20 plus years in dealing with mental health. She is the owner of Cates Consulting.
Cates Counseling and Consulting.
Counseling, yes. Thank you for the correction. Yes, ma'am. And she just shared a little bit. She overcame narcissistic abuse. So we're going to say that for a little bit later. But she is definitely well-versed at this topic. So welcome, Zen.
Thank you. I'll be writing periodically when you talk. as ideas come up or things that you say that I want to go back to, I write.
Absolutely.
So it look like I'm not paying attention. I am.
And look, I have mine.
Oh, okay.
We got gotcha.
Oh, and happy Founders Day to all of my sorority sisters in the world. I love you guys.
And which sorority is that, ma'am?
Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated.
Oh, okay. Hello, all Sigmas. Welcome to the conversation. Very good. And it's National Founders Day.
It is.
Wow. I think there was Delta, what, a couple of months ago?
I'm not sure.
It's coming up. I haven't pledged, but I do know that they do have
January, I believe.
They do have their Delta version. But let's jump right into this topic. From your perspective as a professional, what is narcissism? What is a narcissist? How would you describe it?
Narcissism is so broad, Kelly. Like, it is really difficult to encompass it into something small. Like, you can look up different things online that'll give you like 10 features of narcissism or 13 features of narcissism. There are different ways that we diagnose narcissism. I like to pick the things that are more prevalent that would help people identify it a lot quicker.
Okay.
Because some of them are so minute, it's not really worth going into. But the biggest things are lack of empathy, little to no empathy, I would say, and grandiose personality, and also how they look to other people. Okay, so we'll start with grandiose personality. So someone that has a good concept of themselves is normal, right? So narcissism is on a scale. So you literally start out with what's called good narcissism or positive narcissism. Everybody should have that. Okay. That's positive self-concept. I feel good about myself. I like the way I look, so on and so forth.
Self-confidence, right?
Confidence. You've got lots of confidence, right? As you go up that scale, you start to see more of the darker narcissistic features. Okay. So then you get to your people who are just really cocky, really arrogant, but not necessarily narcissistic. They're just overly confident, right?
Confident. Okay.
Those are the people that your a-holes.
Yes.
That's the people. As you go up, you get closer to your center, right? So then you're starting to deal with more manipulative behaviors. You're starting to deal with more lying. You're starting to see more of those behaviors. And then you hit the midpoint. So that's where the diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder would be, okay? As you go up, you see more of the grandiosity. So you start to see the person who has, these grand, wonderful ideas. Everything about them is, fanatical, grand, very charismatic people. And a lot of times people are drawn to that. They're drawn to the charisma. They're drawn to these great big ideas. But once you get behind the line in the cover, you find out that a lot of these people don't even have what it takes to become what they presented to you to begin with. Okay.
So is it like the Wiz?
Like the Wiz.
Meaning he had all this big grandiose voice and the buildings and the lights and all of this, but then he was just a little person. Richard Pryor, going back to the Wiz, dating myself, but anyway,
that's okay. I was scared of the Wiz, so
when they found out who he was, remember he was behind the scenes.
He was hiding behind
the scenes.
And that's generally what happens with a narcissist, because a narcissist is someone that actually what they present is nothing like how they feel. Right?
Gotcha.
So internally, they have little to no self-esteem. They attach themselves to stronger individuals. Okay, typically you're empaths, but stronger individuals who typically don't know how strong they are, who typically are not comfortable being as confident as they should be based on what they have, right? And because of that, the narcissist is able to distract the strength from the person he attached himself to. So the non-narcissist feels so weak They're exhausted all the time, literally, mentally, physically. They're tired. They feel like they're weak. They feel like they can't think for themselves, when really the reality is you're the one creating the image, right? Because they're pulling. So if you pull yourself away from the narcissist, people will see who that person really is. But because you're creating the image based on the strength that they're pulling, everyone thinks that person is great and wonderful.
Until they go behind the scenes.
Until they go by. But it's the thing about it, you said, once someone shows you who they really are, believe them, right? It's often very hard to really see who the narcissist is, because they're always attached to someone that makes them look good.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's difficult to see it from that perspective. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about what it looks like to actually be in a relationship with them, but they often attach themselves to strong people. Okay. They have a group of people that they attach themselves to, and everybody's feeding into the narcissistic ego. The narcissist is the weakest one in the group. You just can't see it.
You just can't see it because of their surroundings of their that imagery, I guess.
Right. And who they associate themselves with, because again, the people around them create the image. The narcissist just kind of shows up for the party. Right. Yeah. Everybody else is like, oh, so-and-so's here. Oh my God. Right. So the people around them create the image.
The image. Wow. And there are a lot of people that I'm thinking of in my mind now that I know the definition. It's like, how did I not recognize or put two and two together? Because until you really got to know, then you think they're just wonderful. They're just full of confidence and full of zeal and have all these abilities,
but full really of light. And they're going to be these wonderful, extraordinary people. They might be someone that has, an amazing position at a company, and so, oh my gosh, I think that they're going to be great. They have a good job. They appear great on their job, but they don't know how to save. They don't have any money. They don't. So you come in and you do all the work
for them,
and their image is just that they have a great job at a great company.
Now, are those characteristics innate, meaning are they born with those characteristics, or is it because of a learned behavior, because of an incident or circumstance that happened that caused them to put on that facade?
That's a really good question, because actually, as far as studies and research are concerned, we aren't necessarily sure exactly where narcissism comes from. Now, we do know that depending on how far up the scale, because again, we're just talking about the midpoint, right? If we go past the midpoint, you're now starting to see narcissism associated with other personality types like antisocial, or what's the other one that's really common? Can't think of it right now, but you start to see more sociopathic features, right?
Okay.
So the farther up they go, you start to see more physical abuse associated with that person. Okay. But there are studies that show that the brain of a narcissist is different from the brain of your average normal. I use the word normal loosely. Person. Yes. Now, culturally, when you think about the way that someone is brought up in an environment, a narcissist typically has a parent that's narcissistic, right? So as you're growing up in that environment, the children learn either that the narcissistic traits, those powerful traits, the traits that kept everybody in control in the house, made everybody fear, are the traits that they want to use as their defenses. Right. So they take those traits on, they learn how to strengthen those traits, and eventually they become the person that you meet.
Yes.
Then you have the other children who learn how to read the room. They're quiet. They learn how to gauge people's emotions before the person even speaks. Those typically become your more empathic people.
Yes.
Okay. So it's nature versus nurture. We just don't know as much about nature as we would like to know right now.
As we would like to, yeah. And I want to also throw this in here. We are not diagnosing.
No.
And we are definitely not saying that all narcissists are, bad and throw them away. So
Mhm.
don't get it twisted. We're not trying to do that. We are just trying to provide information so that you can be enlightened, or share this information so that someone else could as well. And I always say that because I don't want someone to say, "Oh, well, on Conversation with Kelly, they said," and
Right.
it was just sharing information.
Mhm.
So again, now Zen is a licensed counselor, and at, excuse me, at the end we will definitely provide you with her information. And should you want to have a one-on-one conversation with her, or if you know someone who should have a conversation with her, uh, we will share that information with her. But this is just, again, information sharing. But
And
that
I
is
would like to piggyback on that and say that if you are with someone, whether you feel like they are a narcissist or not, if you are with someone that is abusive, that you are not
Mhm,
happy with, that does
mhm.
not make you feel good, leave. If you
Yes,
are in a position to
yes,
leave, if you are not, reach out to the resources available to you to see what you can do in order to leave that situation, because um, narcissism within itself is abusive. And I think that's something that we often miss because we joke about it so much. You
yes,
know,
yes,
so and so's a narcissist, or so and so's a narcissist. You know, a real true narcissist is abusive, they are hurtful,
mhm,
and they have no empathy, right? So
mhm.
something can happen to you, Kelly, and I could think, oh my God, that must be terrible for her. Let me call her, see if she's okay, right? A narcissist does not have that.
So,
They don't even
so
have
that's
the
forward
ability,
to do it. Right, right,
right?
right,
So
right.
if they hurt you, they don't care.
Mhm,
So you
mhm.
going to them and saying, you know, you hurt my feelings, you did this, you did that. They only double down on the behavior or try to figure out a different way to do it. They do not care that they are hurting you.
And I've been told that they will, if you confront them with that information, like, okay, I'm telling you, you're stepping on my toe.
Mhm.
Oh, well, but then you need to move the toe out of the way, is what a typical response would be, rather
Right.
than,
Or you get the gaslighting, right? You get the
yes.
gaslighting of, you know, well, are you sure that that's me? Are you sure that that's happening? Because I don't know. I don't remember that happening. You could literally hold something up to a narcissist's face that they signed, they wrote, and they'll deny it. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Did that really happen? And then you walk away questioning yourself, right? Which
Mhm,
is called,
mhm,
it's called making crazy. You walk away yourself like,
mhm,
I know that
mhm.
happened. Did that really happen? Did I make a bigger deal out of that than I was supposed to? Right.
Right,
That's gaslighting.
right,
Right.
right,
And they do
right.
that all the time. They do that with everything. You never told me that. I don't remember you telling me that. And you know
Yeah,
you told them,
yeah.
but you
And,
walk
and
away.
we laughed when we talked about this prior to,
Mhm.
when I initially invited you, that I could have used this information during my dating 20s, in that phase,
Absolutely. Mhm.
because I was just as green as grass. And when it comes to figuring out, why do I keep attracting the same type of person?
Mhm.
But it wasn't, now that I know, it was actually the strength and the qualities and characteristics in me that they were attracted to.
Mhm. So let's
Thinking that,
dive right into empath, right? So if you go into an
yes.
empath who is typically a magnet for a narcissist, you're thinking
Mhm,
about someone who
mhm.
always sees the best in people,
Yep, yep,
right?
yep.
You could
That
do
was
something
me.
really ridiculous and
Mhm.
ludicrous, and an empath will say, "Oh, they didn't really
That's not
mean
that bad.
right.
Mhm,
We can work with
mhm,
that girl. That ain't nothing,
mhm,
right?"
mhm, mhm,
An empath
mhm.
typically doesn't want to hurt people's feelings. They don't want to
Right,
see other people upset,
right,
right? And those
right.
those are all of the qualities that a narcissist needs to gaslight you and to keep you exactly where they need you to be.
Under
They'll
under
often come up
their
with excuses.
control.
Right. They'll
Yeah,
come up with excuses that they
yeah,
know you want to hear.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it's a complicated situation or scenario, but let's start at the beginning, right? You meet somebody.
Mhm,
Typically nowadays, the possibility that you met them is probably online, a
mhm,
dating
mhm,
app, right?
mhm,
You've
mhm.
already told them everything that they need to know. right? So they already know your hobbies. They know you like church. They know you're a spiritual person. They know all about you. So they already know how to groom you before they even reach out to you.
So in other words, that information is they're putting that in their arsenal.
It's in their arsenal, right? But this is where it gets good. It's not just in their arsenal, but in the very beginning, when you go out on your first couple dates, they are mimicking and mirroring your behavior.
Exactly what you said.
Literally. They're telling you everything that you said.
Yeah.
They're taught, they have researched,
Yeah.
right? So if you love God, they now know all about the Bible, even if they never read it in their life. But they're also literally mimicking your behaviors.
Yes.
So if you move a certain way, if you talk a certain way, they are mimicking those things, right?
Yes.
It's almost like you're looking in a mirror. So these are the people that walk away from the date and say things like, oh my God, I feel like I've known that person all my life.
All my life.
You know, that felt so comfortable. Oh my God. Because you're dating you in the beginning. And that's why it's so hard, you know, to what was the phrase? When people show you who they are, believe them the first time, only because they're showing you in the beginning.
And you know what? That is a perspective that I wish I could clone and put into a bottle, like a bottle of water, and just distribute it to all females, because that's how we get suckered in.
Yep. Every time.
And there's this video. I don't know this lady. I can't even think of her name, but it just happened to come through my feed one day. And she was talking about dating. And you know how they say, oh, well, what's your favorite color? Where do you like to go to eat? What's your favorite food? I mean, all of these things, like you said, you're feeding them the weapons that they want to use against you, whether we know it or not. And
you also feed the conversation
instead
without
of
even realizing it.
Without even knowing it. And so she said what she stopped doing was giving any information. She said, okay, this is how you'll know what I like. I'll tell you.
But as we talk, as we get to know each other, right, there's often a lot of, especially some of these different things that we have now. There's different games that you can play on dates and different questionnaires that you can ask that give so much personal information in the beginning that you're pretty much setting yourself up for something like this.
Absolutely.
It's not hard nowadays at all. Also, you know, narcissists usually attach themselves to you when something horrible is happening in your life. So you'll usually meet a narcissist around the time that maybe you lost your job, maybe you've lost someone, there's the death of someone.
Yes.
The less centered you are, the easier it is for a narcissist to attach themselves.
Absolutely. And when I saw the video, I went, she's not going to say anything. I mean, well, then how's he going to? But then the light bulb went off like, okay, she's absolutely right. Why am I going to give you the weapons to use against me?
And
so she said, I will tell you. And I guarantee you that a narcissist probably would not even go near her again, because she's already shown like, okay, I'm on to the game and I'm not going to play the game with you.
And, you know, it's interesting because energy is everything. Energy is in every single thing around us, right? Narcissists and empaths are impeccable with energy.
Yes.
So a narcissist can literally walk in a room of people and know who they can victimize before they talk to anybody, just based on energy, based on your body language. The less confident you look, the more attractive you are. You know, if you are, typically when we're going through things, it kind of seeps off of us. It's in our energy.
It does.
You know, and they pick up on that. So,
it does.
You know, being centered is huge. Whether you're someone who meditates, you know, meditation is beautiful. You can meditate on anything. But something that I often hear, you know, older people say is you got to stay prayed up. The more centered you are, the harder it is. Because it's I see it as something that's also kind of spiritual. I think it's Definitely it feels demonic when you're around somebody who is definitely higher up on the narcissism scale. It's definitely
Yes,
has a
yes,
demonic feel
yes.
to it. Mhm.
And that is the reason why the conversation is so important, because we don't know that there could be someone watching who, if not themselves, like I've said several times, or they know someone who's in this situation but don't know how to get out,
Yep.
don't have a clue what's going on. Because I never even heard of love bombing
Oh
until
yeah.
I went through it.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking in my 20s and 30s. I'm talking like last year,
Love bombing is
minding
huge.
my own business. And here comes this gentleman that I had a crush on years and years and years ago, reached out, and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe this is, the will of God for us to reconnect. Within 2 months, gone. But
Mhm.
he was saying the right
Started to see it.
things,
Mhm.
showing interest, and I'm going to pursue you this time, and all of that. And then all of a sudden, stop calling, vanish. And
Yep.
so that was part of my wake up call.
Mhm.
And so that's why I want this conversation to really, 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 really resonate with others, because you could save yourself a lot of pain and a lot of
Yeah.
disappointment.
If you are in the beginning of a relationship and it's new and you're saying things like, I feel like I've known this person all my life, this feels way comfortable. Some
Mhm.
people say, man, it just feels too good to be true. Those are all red flags.
That is probably is.
I'm not saying that it's not possible, right? But 9 times out of 10, those are red flags. It doesn't mean that you need to run
Yes.
immediately. It just means that you
Yes.
need to be more aware of
Cautious.
the person, pay attention to those behaviors that they have.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
eventually that mask starts to crack.
Absolutely.
And that's when you get to, they've
The
now
real.
shown you,
Mhm. Mhm.
believe
Mhm.
them.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
They cannot keep the image long. So usually what you'll see is, in the beginning, they're mimicking and mirroring you, but they can't hold that long, right? So
Mhm.
eventually that's going to start to crumble. I
Mhm.
need to see
Mhm.
Kelly.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless, bless you.
Thank you.
We were talking about
Um,
these allergies
I
earlier.
know. But eventually it does start to, the real true behavior start to come out. So that's
Yeah.
when you see the quick relationships, the relationships where, you start dating this person and a month or 2 months later,
They're
that person is
gone.
already talking about marriage
Mhm.
or what it would
Mhm.
be like to have children with you, or because they're trying to reel you in to a
Mhm.
place that
Mhm.
now you're so comfortable that they can start to show their true colors.
Mhm.
It becomes harder to leave then.
And it is, again, absolutely, because you're attached,
You're invested.
and you
Yeah.
feel like this is got to be, this has got to be right. It feels right. It looks right.
Yep.
Sounds right.
And then when you're
But the
dealing
bottom
with someone
line,
older, I'm sorry, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead,
When you're dealing with
go
someone
ahead.
who's older, like, someone who really wants to be married,
Mhm,
and someone is saying things like, I'm tired. I don't want to date anymore. I don't want to. Well, you probably already told them a lot of that. And so now they're just playing on that. Well, I'm tired of being out here too. I want to get married. And I could still see us having
yep,
kids together. And
yep. A future.
we are. Mhm.
Mhm, mhm,
Yep. It's
mhm.
literally what you told them.
And that's the first takeaway, ladies, and gentlemen, because there are female narcissists as well. Uh,
Absolutely.
Recognize these signs. And the key thing you said, they can't hold the mirror long.
They can't.
And
They
so
can't.
just
It's
give
not
it
there.
time. Don't rush. Don't rush.
Don't
Give it time.
rush. Say that again louder.
Don't.
Don't
And
rush.
somebody, hey, Clarice, how you doing, sis? Put that in the comments for me. Don't rush.
Do not rush. Oh my gosh.
Don't
Because
rush. And not just with
Fast pace is terrible.
relationships, uh, romantic relationships. It could be, don't rush to change a job. Don't rush to befriend someone. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, don't do those things, but just use wisdom.
Mhm.
Just use
Yep.
wisdom. Now that takes me to another question. We talked about the empath and what they are, what are some of their common traits, some of the narcissistic traits. Let's talk about, what is it like to work with a narcissist?
Ooh.
Wait, wait, wait. Can you say that again? Because I've had one. And let me
what?
say it. Worked with a narcissist had a narcissistic boss.
A narcissistic boss is, so first let's just say this. A lot of companies will, depending on the role, will hire people that
Mhm.
are more narcissistic in nature, that are more
Okay.
sociopathic in nature, because there's no empathy, right? The goal
So
is to get the numbers, not to be
get
your
the
friend,
job done. Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Not to care
mhm,
about how you feel about things.
mhm,
So they
mhm.
often show up very callous, friendly in
Is
the beginning, very friendly in the beginning. They like the
mhm,
things that you like,
mhm.
they want to know about your family, all those things, right? And then you start to see a more callous person show up.
Gotcha,
They don't
gotcha.
they don't care about how
Now,
you feel.
is it the same guide, I guess, if you will,
It's similar.
when you're talking about in a relationship with a narcissist, you go slow. You don't reveal everything all at once. Is it the same when it's dealing with a boss? Because you do have some
Absolutely.
companies, that want family days, and it's absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, for real, with getting together with your coworkers and enjoying, some downtime and celebrating, successes at work.
Mhm.
But do you feel that you have to take the same precautionary steps and not
I,
reveal too much, not
I do.
expose too much? Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Now,
Absolutely. Because again, it's mimicking and mirroring along with the
mhm,
information that they're giving you.
okay,
So a true narcissist is always going to mimic and mirror in the beginning. So when you first meet your supervisor, your boss, they're great. This boss is wonderful, right? This is the boss I've been looking for. That's
right,
generally because they're
okay,
mimicking and mirroring some of your behaviors.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
As
okay.
time goes on, you'll start to have a little gut feeling that says,
Something not right.
something about this
Mhm,
doesn't feel
mhm,
right. Or you'll see a
mhm,
behavior that felt like, you'll
mhm,
see them treat somebody else real bad. And you'll
mhm,
be like,
mhm.
oh, wow, that's a little out of
I didn't,
character. That's
I
not
didn't
really
know that
who
was
you are.
in them.
Didn't think that was them, right?
Yeah,
Those are
yeah,
the things that you should be paying attention to, because eventually it will be you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you don't hit the correct criteria, if you don't hit the numbers, if you don't, it will be you.
Mhm,
A lot of
mhm,
narcissistic bosses are just really nasty people. They're
mhm,
very
mhm,
nasty. They can be condescending.
mhm, mhm.
Um, they're typically what's the word I'm looking for? Not condescending, but use a lot of sarcasm. Very
Yes,
sarcastic. So when you point out the
yes,
sarcasm, it was a joke. That's not really what they meant. You're reading
right,
too much into the comment,
right,
right?
right.
You see a lot of that on the job with the boss.
And my former boss, who has some narcissistic tendencies, his was more covert,
Hmm.
meaning it wasn't so much. Now there were times when he was just very, upfront, said what he said, and
Uh-huh.
let the chips fall where they may. But then there were a lot of times when that sarcasm was undercover, like just little jabs, here and there, jokes that was not funny.
Not funny
Not,
at all.
not per se towards me, but just observing how he treated other staff members and colleagues and other businesses and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah,
But they also know who they can do that with. Narcissists know
yes,
who they can manipulate, right?
yes,
So just
yes.
like in a family, right? You can really apply family dynamic to almost any setting. So if you're at work, you're going to have the narcissistic supervisor who has the golden child, right?
Mhm.
The person that they love, that does everything, you know,
The way
anything the boss wants, they get, right? But then you also have the scapegoat who speaks up a little more and says, oh, I don't know that that's okay. I don't know that that's right. Well, that person who speaks up is the one who always catches it.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Same dynamic with family. So
Yep.
anytime there's a narcissistic head, you're always going to see very similar dynamics in that way.
In that way. Which now that's taken us to the family side, because we talked about the relationships now in terms of romantic wise, and then now at work. Talk about the family members with narcissistic traits, like a parent, a sibling.
So let's start with parents. So narcissistic parents are typically, you'll find studies that say toxic parents. I don't know why it's hard to find studies about narcissistic parenting, especially as it pertains to mothers. We need to do a lot of work there. But narcissistic parents are those parents that expect absolute perfection from their children. Nothing less than perfection, because their image is impeccable.
Yes. And you're not going to embarrass the family. Yeah.
Not going to embarrass the family. And because of the image, people find it very difficult to believe you when you say certain things are happening in the home. They just don't believe. There's no way that person did that. There's no way, because they're wonderful to other people, right? A narcissist is always beautiful to those outside, right? Narcissistic moms specifically often attach themselves to their daughters, and they will compete with their daughters.
Okay.
Always in competition with their daughters. They don't like daughters' boyfriends when they bring certain guys home. They don't necessarily like them because now they feel like that man is taking their daughter away from them. They manipulate their daughters horribly.
Gotcha.
The biggest thing with a narcissistic mom is like I said, she very rarely likes the person that her daughter is dating unless she feels like she can manipulate that person. Right? She can't manipulate that guy. He's out of there. Okay. She'll often use boyfriends, looking at the boyfriend and complimenting the boyfriend, talking about how great the boyfriend is in order to make the daughter feel less than. Real crazy stuff. Right. Daughters or moms of narcissists, their sons are typically their husbands. Right.
Gotcha.
If they're married, dad's off in La La Land somewhere, and son isn't. I'm not necessarily talking about anything sexual, although that can be.
Right. Of course. Right.
But the sons do everything for their moms. Mom can't do anything wrong. So you meet a guy who puts mom first.
9 chances out of 10. Yeah.
Not a good sign. Because mom is manipulating that son. You know, a normal mom would say, no, that's your girlfriend. Go do things with your girlfriend. Go hang out with your girlfriend. Narcissistic mom is going to be the complete opposite. The closer you get with that girl, the more of that mom is going to try to roll in those ropes to pull that son in closer
and break the relationship.
Break that relationship.
Yeah.
Because they want the son for themselves. They don't want anybody else to be with that son. No one's ever good enough.
Now, is it because the mother is single, or is it also? It doesn't matter. Okay.
It doesn't matter. She could be married. It doesn't matter.
But the main thing what you're saying is she's trying to control the son, and so
she always controls the son. The son is her husband.
She can do that.
Yep. So even after you marry that woman, right? The mom is still going to come first. That is never going to change. Never, never, never going to change.
So how do you deal with that?
Well, you pay attention before you get married.
That part.
Right? Because
That
the signs
part.
are typically there before you get married, right? But you feel like you're marrying into such a good family and everything is going to be great and wonderful. And I can change him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can make him do things differently. Mom will eventually back off. It gets worse after you get married. Much worse.
Gotcha.
Because then mom wants to run your house too.
And that's when the trouble really
will
starts. Hit the fan.
Because he's not going to say anything. Because it's his mom.
Right.
He's not going to say anything at all.
Right.
Okay. You know. And so you just feel like you're losing your mind for the most part. A narcissistic dad is more, again, that the dad that perfection is everything. Right. So if your child is good in a sport and the dad likes that sport, he is going to push that child past the point of exhaustion. It's not fun anymore. Child probably doesn't even want to do it anymore. But dad is going to make sure that you're going to do it because it's the image of this household. Right? You're going to carry on my name. You got to be perfect.
And that's where you have a lot of athletes who struggle with that perfectionism. Yep. That's where it comes from. Okay.
Usually the dad will attach himself to his sons in that way. So you might see it from the outside as bonding or admiration for their son. But in the home, it is none of those things. It is you better do this. You have to do this. You don't have a choice. Where a lot of us, like my kids, they can try things out. If they don't like it, they just don't like it.
Then
move on to something else. Right.
Not
in a narcissistic home. You're going to do that.
No matter what.
No matter what. You're going to do it. You're going to do it. But, you also have, if you have a narcissistic mom, particularly, narcissistic mothers are just on a whole nother scale. And that's because of the way that we view mothers.
The bond, the attachment, the love, yeah.
There are a lot of people that don't have good relationships with their dad or don't have one at all. And we just, as soon as they say they don't have a relationship with their dad, we're just kind of like, oh, he must be a deadbeat, or we just write it off. But a mom, if you don't have a relationship with your mom, something is wrong with you.
Right.
Can't be mom.
And back in the day, when we were younger, we played that, what was it called? Play the dozens, where you would say something smart about my mom and I would say something about your mom. And then at some point, it wasn't fun anymore.
No, it's time to fight.
Don't talk about my mama.
Because moms are gods.
Yeah.
And so narcissistic moms play in that field. Right? Because who's going to believe the child when it comes to a mom?
Right.
And they are often very violent. Both moms and dads are very violent people. I don't want to gloss over narcissism in the form of violence. There's a lot of violence in narcissistic homes that people are often too afraid to speak about, are too ashamed. There's a lot of shame attached to growing up in a narcissistic home that people don't like to talk about because people will shame you as the child.
And you are correct that you could have a narcissist, but they don't go to the violent extreme. It's more emotional control, emotional damage.
On
the scale. Right. But you do have those who are. I mean, we're certainly not saying, they are the nice person and, can't harm you. They certainly can.
Absolutely. Because we have to remember, in general, right, the narcissistic scale goes all the way up to serial killers.
Yep.
Right. So everything in between is on that scale. So, narcissistic moms and fathers will do whatever they need to do to keep you in line, to make sure that that image is correct. So there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of intimidation, there's a lot of emotional abuse that takes place.
Yes.
That they go missed. It goes missed because the image is so impeccable.
Now we're almost getting close to the end of our time, but this is good information. As a matter of fact,
good. I really hope it's helping.
That says a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can a narcissist and or a empath actually change?
No.
Okay.
Not one. If you've hit narcissistic personality disorder,
which is
which is the middle.
Oh, in the middle. Okay, gotcha.
So if you're in the middle going up, no.
Okay, gotcha.
No. If you just have the traits, if you're in the realm of the traits, you typically have some empathy. And so if someone points it out to you and says, what you did was really hurtful, those people are going to think, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. And they're going to start to change the behaviors. They'll go to therapy, right? I do have some people in therapy that have narcissistic traits who are working to rid themselves of those characteristics because they understand that those are learned.
Right. But on the other side,
no, because they're not going to acknowledge that they've done anything wrong. Right. So part of getting help is acknowledging that you have a problem. So if you're not going to acknowledge that something is wrong or that you've done anything wrong, or if someone brings it to your attention, you gaslight them, it didn't happen, or you make it their fault.
Yes.
No, you're not going to
change. And it's just like a addict, they can be, set free, but they first have to want to be free. Well, I'm sorry. They first have to acknowledge
there's a problem.
They have a problem, and then be willing to work towards solving that problem through counseling or treatment, whatever. So,
and even then, they still have the potential to relapse.
Of course.
Right. So with a narcissist, someone who has narcissistic traits, they are working on the traits, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the potential to fall back on those traits. Because that's where they're comfortable, right? Someone that has narcissistic personality disorder and further up the scale, we can't even get them to acknowledge that they have a problem.
Gotcha.
So that's an empath. I would say someone who is empathic, the more you understand the gift of empathy, the more you are able to cultivate your energy and being an empath, and it becomes something that helps you detect narcissistic people. You learn to listen to your intuition. So, I think cultivating being an empath is amazing. It's a beautiful gift to have. When it's cultivated, when it's cultivated and when you're centered.
Yes.
Otherwise, you don't have boundaries.
Yes.
You want to help everybody.
Yes.
And that's when they show up.
Well, I learned a powerful 2-letter word that helped me.
What?
No.
With a period.
Period.com.
Yep.
It took years.
It took years. Saying no as an empath is so hard because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. You don't want to.
It is, but and sometimes I say no so fast, like, oh, wait, let me.
Did I just say? I did not mean that.
I didn't process that quite enough. But
I teach my clients to say no in the mirror. Just say no in the mirror.
Practice. Because what was happening, going through that cycle, that was not fun for me. And when I went through my divorce, that's when the healing journey began. Because I said, okay, God, wait, what's going on? I keep running to the same types of situations. Nothing is changing. What am I not doing? Or what should I be doing? And so in that healing journey is when I began to have the scales, I guess, removed from my eyes little by little to say, okay, wait, well, you played a part in it. because you thought you gave the benefit of the doubt to everybody. Everybody is just great and wonderful, and you did not say no.
Yep. And depending on if you grow up in the church,
Yeah.
that becomes one of the traps.
And
not because you grew up in the church, but some of the teachings in the church can set you up for being in narcissistic relationships.
Absolutely. Because women are taught to be submissive to their husbands. And, so yeah.
Yep. Which does not mean doormat, but sometimes it is
Exactly.
interpreted that way. But, just some of the
Exactly.
things like, being good natured to people, putting yourself last, making sure that, other people are first. Those are all things that will get you caught in a narcissistic relationship.
Mm-hmm. And when I reached that point of realizing that if I wanted things to change, I had to be the conduit to make it happen.
Uh-huh.
That's when that word was so quick to just roll out of my mouth.
No. And that's one of the things that I do at Cates Counseling that is so important to me is a lot of times, people come and they don't understand how they get in the relationships. How did I end up here? So we go all the way back to childhood. You cannot work through narcissism unless you go back to childhood.
Yes.
9 times out of 10 you have a narcissistic parent. So when you see the behaviors, they're not shocking to you because you're used to them.
Yes.
So we do the whole history all the way back up to who you are today.
Mm-hmm.
And, that way you're able to see where that narcissist showed up and where it's common for them to show up for you.
It's almost like you have to go in reverse to back up a little bit, and
Absolutely.
then you can go forward.
And it seems simple, but it is so hard to go back to childhood for people because there's so much trauma usually.
And pain.
And you got to work through that stuff, otherwise you operate out of the trauma.
That's right.
And what happens when you're not centered and operating in trauma? You're a magnet for narcissistic people.
That's right. Now, that is the perfect way to close out. And we just might need to do a part 2 because
I would love to. We haven't scratched the surface yet.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. But you are, and I did not say, an author.
I am.
You wrote a book. Hey, Dress. Okay, so.
Yeah. I'm an author.
Yes. What happens in this house? Tell us about that book. And what was the journey that led you to write the book?
This book is my testimony. Like I said, there was a period of time that I was kind of trying to figure out the dynamic that I was in with my parents, specifically my mother. And I ran across parental narcissism. And the more I learned about it, the more I tried to assert myself and do things differently. And the more my mom would become more toxic. She would do more devious things. And my dad would always align with it. And so I moved a couple times. When we finally moved down here, I got to a place that I literally just didn't want to live anymore. I had it. I couldn't, because it penetrates your soul.
It keeps you stuck.
And, and I wanted to free myself, but I didn't know how because my God, it's my mom, So I wrote the book. I said, you know what, you have to help other people. I felt like it was, part of my journey. I felt like it's part of my ministry to help as many people as possible. I talk about a lot of things that sometimes people don't want to talk about. Oftentimes there is sexual abuse. It doesn't necessarily have to be a parent that sexually abuses you, but because you're literally raising yourselves, individuals are allowed in to abuse you. But when you say something to somebody that doesn't align with the image, so you're left to deal with that by yourself. So there's a lot in this book. There's a lot of stuff in here that can be very, very helpful. But the goal is that this book would touch lives, that this would give someone an opportunity to feel like they can speak their truth as well. Because for children of narcissists, especially the scapegoat, it is not easy. It's hard out here in these streets as a scapegoat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how
Yeah.
can the viewers get in contact with you and order the book first? And then also, if they wanted to even have a counseling session with you one-on-one?
Well, you can contact me through my website,
And I just
catescounseling.com.
posted it up there. Mhm.
You can go there and you can send a message through there. You can't necessarily book through there, but you
Okay.
can send a message to me through there and I'll get you all set up once I receive your message. You also can scroll down to the bottom of my website and that will take you to where you can order the book. Or you can just go to Amazon.com, look up Nzinga Cates. It will take you to the book. A lot of different ways that you can do that. In terms of scheduling, you can also reach out to me at my website, nzingacates.com. I'll get your message, reach out to you, and we can start working from there.
Absolutely. Well,
Great journey, Dawn.
we got to do this part 2.
I'm
I don't
ready.
know
Whenever you're
how
ready.
and when we will do it. And I really feel it's specifically, maybe not the part 2, it could be a 3 or a 4, who knows? But
It's
one
a
particular
lot of information.
just on singles, for singles.
Mhm.
Looking at the characteristics and traits that should be red flags.
Mhm. Absolutely. I'd
So
love to
I
do that.
appreciate you, ma'am.
Thank
And
you so
I
much for
am
the
so
invite.
glad that you came and spent this afternoon with us.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask if there are any questions. Please post them in the comments before we log off.
I can't
I don't,
see.
I don't see any, not quite yet. But if there are, if you are watching the replay, still, we will respond to your questions. Just put in replay and type your questions in there, and I'll make sure that Zen does get a chance to see them and can answer them. But this has been a awesome conversation.
Thank you. It's always a
Awesome.
pleasure to talk about
Awesome.
narcissism. It's a big
Absolutely.
deal.
Bigger than we think.
Way
Bigger than we think.
It is everywhere.
But here's the good thing, though. We have people like you who are professionally trained that can guide and lead us through that healing journey.
And as an empath, you are innately professionally trained. You just have to hone in on your skills. You have to understand who you are as an individual. I liken empaths to being the salt of the earth, The more you know, the more you can
Apostle
help
Rach,
yourself.
thank you for joining us. Absolutely. But yes, ma'am, we definitely will work it out to fit within your schedule. Maybe not till the beginning of the year, because I do have a few shows coming up, but not shows, podcasts coming up at the for the rest of the year. But just plan for it, and we'll make it happen.
I'll be ready.
We will definitely make it happen. So hang tight. But again, this has been an awesome conversation with my guests on today. Make sure to subscribe so that way you will know what is coming up. And when I tell you the rest of November and December, we have some power packed speakers coming. And as I always do, I get super excited because I already know, but I can't share it all with you. But
I know
please,
there are some really good. There's some really good stuff coming up.
And you only saw the ones for the half part of November.
Yes.
Just keep listening, keep tuning in. But subscribe, so you will be aware of when we have these conversations. And if you even have a specific topic that you think we should talk about, because all this is just people sitting around having a conversation, sharing about life, about love, about the Lord, healing, all of the above. So again, thank you for watching another conversation with Kelly. And until next time, you all be blessed, and we'll see you next time.